All right, how you guys doing? In today's video, we are going to be talking about metronome and how the metronome is a guitarist's best friend. And today's going to be a quick video and just some practical applications of a metronome. So I have on the screen, I'm just using the metronome that pulls up when you just Google the word metronome. That's all you have to do and you'll find this. And it's not an awful sounding metronome, which is great. Sometimes they can be really annoying, and sometimes they are too soft and you can't hear them in a mix. And so especially if you're tracking, if it kind of interferes with the frequency that you're trying to play along with, that's no good. I'm the kind of person who always live and in the studio, I want a lot of click in my ears, because for me that is just the root of even all guitar. I mean, guitar, a lot of times if you think about even acoustic guitar live with a full band becomes almost more of a percussion instrument than it does a melodic instrument. And so I really think the metronome is really important. So let's talk about a few different ways that a metronome, in my opinion, is a guitarist's best friend. Okay, so the first way that we're going to talk about using a metronome as a guitarist is just ingraining rhythm into your playing, ingraining the rhythm into your right hand. If that's something that you struggle with, playing along with tracks or playing with other musicians, that's something that's going to be the most important, almost more important than hitting the right note. If you can hit the wrong note at the right time, sometimes you can get away with it. And so I think rhythm is so important. So that's the first thing, the foundation that we're going to be talking about. So I have this metronome pulled up, and let's dial this back down to, let's say, 80, okay? And you want to get a feel for the rhythm here. And what I would do is I would pick a riff, or maybe even just strumming some chords, and stick with that key, and just play along with the metronome. And what you're going to be able to do eventually, once you start playing a riff straight on with the metronome, stay in the key of B here. Okay, if you can just play straight on with the beat, even those big open notes, then what you can do is you can start to push or you can pull behind, and that's going to create a different feel. So if we played the same thing but we pushed it, that's right on the front nose of the beat. Now if we pull it behind the beat, it's going to give a much more laggy feel here. Okay, those are exaggerated examples there, but you know, you can start to play along with rhythm, pushing and pulling, you know, ahead of or behind the beat, but always being able to come back to home base, which you're playing right on the nose of the beat. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about using guitars with metronomes is running scales. Now this is the thing that's not sexy. This is the thing that we don't want to do, and some teachers have even encouraged people not to do. And I get that. I understand that for sure. Guitar is supposed to be fun and you're supposed to enjoy it. And if you're not having fun, if you don't enjoy the time that you spend playing guitar, you're gonna not keep it up. You're not gonna be able to improve on it if you're not enjoying your time. However, if you can get to the place that you can spend the first 5 minutes when you pick up a guitar, playing with a metronome and maybe running some scales, your future self will thank your past self for that. That's something that I still do today in pushing my own playing beyond my comfort zone. And playing with a metronome while you're running scales accomplishes a few things. One, you're still ingraining that rhythm, especially in the left hand, okay? So your right hand, is really the source of rhythm on guitar, but when you're running scales, you've got to have your hands talk to each other, to be able to be changing and playing notes, especially as you start to speed up, on time. And that's the second thing, is being able to track your speed. That's invaluable when you are first learning scales. And so I always encourage my students to run scales, whether it's pentatonic, major or minor, any of your scales, play it straight, and then do the 3s, 4s, and 5s. And what I mean by that is we're gonna stick with the 80 BPM here. I'm gonna start the metronome again. Okay, we're gonna do something easy here. We're gonna do the A minor pentatonic, okay? So here would be playing it straight. Okay, you're playing straight on with the beat. Now, once you're comfortable doing that, and you got to spend some time with these 3s, 4s, and especially the 5s to be able to split the beat with the metronome, okay? So splitting the beat, so here's our 3s, okay? We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to start with the second note. So our first 3 notes here, A, C, D. Okay, now we're going to start on C. C, D, E, okay, and so on. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's our 3s. Now 4s is the exact same thing. You're going to go up 4, okay, and then you're going to start 1 note ahead of what you did before. So we're going to start with our A, C, D, E. Okay, now we're going to start on the C again. C, D, E, G. Okay, and those are 4s, and we're going to split it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the 4s. Now 5s is where it gets really, it's like a tongue twister. Okay, so we're going to go up 5. So A, C, D, E, G. Now start at the C. C, D, E, G, A. Okay. Okay, that's our 5s. So it's a little more complicated, and that's something that you can do playing along with a metronome, and start as slow as you need to and incrementally increase the speed. Go up 5 BPM, go up 10 BPM. And it's something that you can do every day just to kind of warm up, okay? And it's really, really going to help you, I would say, almost more than anything else. And I would encourage you to always be expanding the scales that you're playing as you practice that with your 3s, 4s, and 5s, and even just playing it straight just to get your fingers familiar with those scale shapes. So the next metronome hack that we're going to talk about is practicing a riff with a metronome. So I think this applies for both if you are writing a riff for a solo or for the hook of a song, or if it's something that you're learning from tabs, that practicing it with a metronome is really, really, really going to help you nail it exactly the way that you want to. And I think that applies especially if you're learning a solo from one of your favorite guitar players, but you kind of want to make it your own. You can do that strategically and slow it down, both learning his or her licks and then adding in your own flavor and being able to repeat that. And as you speed up, you will get cleaner and cleaner. I think this is one of the best hacks, and especially if you're improvising even. You can improvise with a metronome in the tempo of a song and try a few different things out and then get something that you really like. I would even suggest, especially if it's fast, slow it back down, work on it until you really nail it, and then inch your way up. So I've got a song coming out this summer, and there is a solo that I've been racking my brain trying to do something a little bit different, and I've got a little bit of an odd run in there, and it's something that I wrote and I practiced with a metronome. So let's take this down to, I don't know, like 70. Okay, so here's the click at 70 BPM. Okay, it's in the key of G. And because of where this riff is in the song, it starts as a pickup, so it's a little bit weird to start. But here's an example of how to practice a riff, and you'll even hear at the end, I'll kind of go off of the metronome on purpose a little bit, okay? Okay, so that's really slow. Now let's speed that up to something like 95. Okay. Okay, so that's something, I kind of go off of the metronome a little bit at the end, and it's something that I worked on just because it's a weird kind of jumping lick. I started slow, and I just, there I increased it 25 BPM. I would probably split that and maybe do, 10 BPM and then another 10 BPM and then another 5 or another 10 or something like that. But as you practice in a writing riffs, being able to do that with a metronome is, in my opinion, really, really, really valuable. So this last metronome hack is very similar to the first one, but with a different end goal in mind. And so jamming with a metronome will make you really confident as a guitar player. If you improvise and be really intentional about key, you can modulate if you want to, but do everything strategically. But if you practice jamming with a metronome, it's going to be really revealing. It's going to feel pretty vulnerable because the metronome is not going to provide a cushion to hide any mistakes. However, it will make you very confident in what you play. So if you're somebody who plays with other people in a jam circle or live out with your band, and you find it difficult sometimes to be really confident going into a solo, especially if it's improvised, this is a great way to become confident in what you're playing. So we started the beginning of this video in the key of B, so let's stay there, and I'm going to kind of do a similar funk groove at the beginning, and we're going to even apply some of that being intentionally pushing the beat forward or being behind it to create a different feel. That's something you see a lot of drummers do in a drum break or a drum solo, is they'll establish a sense of rhythm, establish a beat, intentionally go off of that rhythm to be able to come back right on without any hesitation, without missing a beat, coming right back on to that original established thing. And I think that's a really interesting and cool thing to do as a guitar player. So let's try to practice doing that together. So we have it up at 100 BPM now. It's a nice kind of forward tempo. So there I went off of the original established rhythm intentionally, but then I kept calling back to it. And that gives a sense of home base. So when you go off of home base, you're a lot freer to push or pull or sustain things and make them more impactful. And then you can always come back home to reestablish that rhythm. And that's a great way to go about, especially blues guitar. And when you're improvising, as having a home base to kind of refer back to is a super common thing. You see a lot of players call back to something earlier in the song, maybe the intro, or calling back to the root home rhythm, even melodically. That's something that you can do, and I think is the most interesting thing to me personally as a guitar player, as somebody who really thinks of rhythm first in playing. This is a valuable thing to be able to sit there and practice and be really confident because you've practiced improvising with a metronome. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you learned something today, if this was at all interesting to you, I would encourage you to like and subscribe to this channel. This is still a new channel that I'm trying to grow. Go to my website to be able to check out new things. I will be having merch pretty soon, and so be on the lookout for that. Hit the bell icon so you can be alerted when I go live and when new videos release. This weekend we're going to be going to Nashville and shooting a little bit there, and so that's going to be exciting to bring some of that trip to you guys. But for now, I've been Colin, and we'll see you next time. Here we go. Just to build that sitting right out. Okay. Let's do that again. Is okay, let's talk about or if you are learning something from tap. Just threw my pick on the ground. Let's do that again one more time. Riff with a, okay. So the next metronome that you are learning, I don't know.